IVM.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Hello everyone, it's a Monday morning and this is the TFG Indian Football Podcast. My name is Kevin and joining me is Chiranjeet via phone call. We will be talking about Indian football, especially the Indian national football team. The SAFF Championship is not coming home. It is not coming home. It's gone to Maldives, and yes, we suffered a loss in the final against Maldives. 2-1 was the final score. Sumit Pasi got us one goal back, but it was too little.
You seem very happy about it, Kevin.
No, it's
You're like completely buzzing with excitement, man, today.
No, it's just the voice. It's not the emotion. All right, and no, it's nothing to be proud of. It's in a way, it's very, very disappointing. But I will take the positive, as we always do. We'll take the positives and we'll keep the rest aside. The under-23 side of the Indian team managed to reach the final, and the final hurdle was Maldives, and probably we didn't show our best at that game. Chiranjeev, what did you make of that final?
Well, there was this movie called The Replacements, a very shitty movie. I think it came out early 2000s or late 90s. Starred Keanu Reeves as an American football player. And there he talks about the character talks about this experience of playing his first major final in his early career called the Sugar Bowl. And there he talks about like a cascade of things going wrong. Like the moment one thing goes wrong and it puts you in a negative mindset, then the other thing goes wrong, then the next thing goes wrong, and then it just becomes a pile of mistakes and mess-ups that cost you the game, and it becomes a stigma for the rest of your career. And I think similarly something happened in the India versus Maldives games. We should have easily won this. I mean, forget this is an under-23 team. If we sent our under-19 team, we should have beaten this Maldives team. There's nothing in there. Okay, the only reason they scored 2 goals was because we had a high back line, and they were able to take advantage of it during counters, which is because our midfield was not working properly. So they could build up from those counters. So it's, I don't know, how many times did you see Nikhil Pujari dying out there to get the crosses into the box, which Manveer and Farooq Chaudhary kept shooting wide? How many times did you see Ashik Kurunian do that? Anirudh Thapa played so well during the tournament, just messed up in the final. And why is this happening? It's because these guys are playing their first full tournament with the senior national team jersey. And this is their first big final. And they know that as Indian players, if you don't win the SAFF Championship, you get judged pretty hard, which is what is happening now. So they went out there and they basically lost the psychological battle. Yeah. And look at the other end of the coin as well. Peter Seg, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. This guy was the coach of Afghanistan last time. And India were in a similar position. India conceded 1 goal, then it was just a different approach. I remember being there, huge roar from the crowd that cheered India on, and 5 minutes later India equalized, and then India went on to score the second goal and India won. And this guy was in the sidelines seething through it. He had a fight with the referee. He got sent off for dissent, and I think he's been keeping the grudge all this time. And the way I spoke to him during that tournament, he's a very emotional guy who takes things personally. He must have been preparing his team for this revenge game. And the preparations must have been even more intensified when India beat Maldives 2-0 in the group stage. So, yeah, imagine how that turned out for them. I mean, they came in with a very different emotional and attitudinal makeup. I'm not sure if attitudinal is a word, but I just used it. So anyway, So yeah, they beat us mentally, man.
Yeah,
it's just
taking a look back, and a lot. If you just browse through social media, a lot of criticism coming in for the formation that we've been playing and sticking to for a long time. 4-4-2 is what Constantine prefers, and 4-4-2 probably is being touted as the reason that we weren't able to get past the Maldives defense. Do you think it's fair?
We outdid them anyway. Like, how many chances did we create? How many corners did we earn? How many set pieces did we earn? We were completely circumventing their midfield by using the wings, and both the wingers have been pretty effective in SAFF Championship. But the finishing is where we lost it. Finishing, like, how many chances did Maldives create? They probably created like 4 or 5 total chances, and 2 of them they scored. And we create like 17, 18 chances and we score 1. That's not a problem of midfield not working or this thing. And I agree, the midfield was pretty weak because Anirudh Thapa just suddenly had one of the worst games in his national team career. But it's about finishing, man. That's where we lost.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine if we had Sandesh Jingan in the defense, Pranay Haldar in the midfield. If we had JJ or Sunil up there, like this game is ours by 6-1.
But again, this was the trial, this was the experiment, and this was it's not even, I wouldn't say it's the right word to call it experiment. This was a big leap of faith. They wanted to go ahead, test this team fully, thoroughly, because they also are the next generation. Looking forward to barring Sumit Pasi, I think everybody was under 23, and rightfully this was the tournament to try out. You can't try this at a tournament where you face stronger Asian sides, or where the stakes are very high. This was something we've done it for years. SAFF is almost like it's been with us for so long. 7 times we've been the winners, and this was the right platform. I would say if you have to build up to the next generation, entire team fresh off the lot, and you have the one guy who's leading, and probably he's the one who's going to be turning up into a good player, a good leader. And I think to a far extent, and we're talking about the 2 captains. We are talking about the Subhashish Bose. Subhashish Bose did lead from the back.
Bose, man. I'm not convinced.
I don't know. No. Somewhere you have to build leaders. I'm not saying the captain will be the leader, but you need to have somebody who's talking his way into the game, who's keeping everybody in shape. So we've seen the national team.
I think that was Anirudh Thapa, no? Like, I think Subhashish Bose. Well, he has a hot-headed issue, and the couple of cards he picked up show it. So he was also reacting to the whole situation a little bit emotionally. He didn't have that cool head, which Changtes showed, and unfortunately he missed the final, right? And that also played a part. A lot of things played a part, man. I mean, you mentioned Constantine chose to go and test the under-23 team. I don't think he would have done it if we were allowed to participate in Asian Games. Right? Asian Games was taken away from us by the Indian Olympic Association, and that left the Indian national team management with no choice. If they're looking forward to get a couple of extra players in the Asian Cup squad, then where do you test it? You have to take the SAFF Championship only, because it's the last chance. Otherwise, they could have easily taken 3 or 4 senior players, and we would be having a different conversation right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's what happened. So many things just went into this. So many unforeseen and unnecessary factors. Like, also the coin toss between Sri Lanka and Maldives. Like, Maldives didn't score a single goal in the group stage, and they win the coin toss, and they just become a very different player. So imagine if Sri Lanka had won that coin toss, then again we would be having a different conversation of an India versus Nepal final.
Yeah, but then I think this has to be a way forward. You can't go back on your ways. Getting back, probably another 2 years we will be playing the SAFF Championship again. This time not as defending champions, but we can't go back now. You can't have again the senior national team.
Well, I don't know if we will be playing next time. It's happening in Pakistan. Depends on the political scenario. But let's see where that goes. But congratulations to Maldives. One thing though, like you just see the calls for Constantine being sacked everywhere.
Yeah.
Even Subrata Bhattacharya, former Indian captain, came out and said we need to sack Constantine immediately because he has not delivered. Do you agree with this?
I don't know. To some extent, it's a mixed feeling as of now because we've lost SAFF. No, it's not because we've lost a tournament. SAFF is something. It's prestigious. It's won several times. That's the reason. But I wouldn't really make too much out of the sacking because we want to have that experiment there. It's probably too late that we would say that this was done. We could have done this earlier. But we're getting there. Yeah. Somebody who's known the team for so long, somebody who's made changes in the youth system, bringing down the average age of the team. That these are the things that has led to it. Had it not been a younger senior national side, we wouldn't have seen this time. I think
exactly. And the express purpose of sending this team was just getting a few players for the senior national team for the Asian Cup.
Correct.
And if the moment you are sending under 23 team out there, you are conceding that factor that you're accepting that possibility that you might lose because this is by definition an experiment. So I guess, the whether the experiment has succeeded. The campaign has failed. It has lost in the final. But whether the experiment has succeeded depends on how many players from this team we get into the Asian Cup. And do you have any players in mind who deserve to get into Asian Cup after this?
Changte definitely. Changte, he's been exceptional. Defensively, I don't really see anybody who's a fit as of now because I think Indian national, the senior side is just completely doing well in the defensive. But Thapa, obviously, if you have to pick one of the better players, Thapa is right there. Don't look at the final performance. He's always been there. I think he's been unlucky not to get the cap in the national side too often, but I think he is up there. Changte, Pujari, right up there.
And Manveer Singh? What about him?
Manveer, I would still find him as not a 90-minute player. Again, he's not giving in the striker material feeling because we've seen quality strikers in the national side. So probably he's still not up there.
Yeah, but guess who is definitely going to make it into the Asian Cup now?
Ashik.
Yeah, Sumit Pasi scored in semi-finals, scored in finals, the super substitute. He's going to be there at that role.
Yeah.
He's probably going to come on at 75 minutes against Bahrain and then score a hat-trick and get us into the knockouts. That's what's going to happen. You heard it here first. Sumit Pasi is going to score a hat-trick against Bahrain.
Yeah. All right, and that brings us to the end of the first half of the show. On the other side, we're talking about East Bengal. We're talking about Kolkata, but we're not talking about Mohan Bagan. Yeah, we might just talk because it's Chiranjeet. All right, we need to head on to a break. Come back to us on the other side.
You know what it's been? Like every week has been an awesome week on IVM. This week on IVM, we got the 300th episode of Cyrus Says. To mark this milestone, Cyrus has an MTV VJ reunion with Malaika and Nikhil Chinappa. Listen in for tons of laughter and nostalgia. You really, really don't want to miss this. 300 episodes! On the scene and the unseen, Amit Verma is joined by a farmer leader, Gunwant Patil, to discuss India's agricultural crisis and the state of farmers. On Noyer Kanun, lawyer and host Amber Rana helps us to understand the complexities related to the laws and rights regarding cruelty. Last week on the Pragati podcast, Pawan and guest host Shambhavi Nayak were joined by renowned scientist Dr. Kumarasamy Thangaraj to discuss the great genetic diversity of India. On the Kinetic Living podcast this week, Coach Urmi talks to stand-up comic and the host of Keeping It Queer, Naveen Narona, about his busy schedule and the struggle to create a fitness regime for himself. And as always, if you're not following us on social media, please make sure that you do. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We do a lot of really interesting stuff over there. Also, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. We have this thing called IVM CCTV over there where we give you guys a glimpse into the studio. And with that, let's continue with your show.
Welcome back after the break. Yeah, we are continuing to talk about Indian football. We just finished talking about the SAFF Championship, which India lost in the final. East Bengal is next. East Bengal, what are they up to? Minerva Punjab.
Why are we not talking about Mohan Bagan? Kevin? They just won the Calcutta Football League.
Yeah, let's keep that aside. No, we just
30
lost.
30 titles, man. 30 titles.
Yeah.
Finally.
Great to know. So I think it's a great victory for Mohan Bagan, knowing that East Bengal has been dominating CFL, and probably that streak has been broken, and it just makes it more interesting in the I League. And talking about I League, talking about East Bengal, talking about Mohan Bagan, but we need to add in one more character over there, Minerva Punjab, Sukhdev Singh. Combine all these three and you get a result as a transfer ban being imposed on East Bengal, Quest East Bengal.
Historic.
Yeah. And this comes in the wake of the saga of signing Sukhdev Singh, who was playing for Minerva Punjab, and allegedly he was contacted directly. Just floating all the rules there, and they bypass the club, they bypass the FIFA regulations, they bypass the Indian football rules and regulation to get in a player on board, and that just results in something very sad. East Bengal are banned, and till the next transfer window that will be in January, they are not allowed to sign any new players. Chiranjit, big news for East Bengal.
Yeah, well, let's just get the technicalities out of the way first. It's the Player Status Committee which looked into this, and they came out with the decision. Now, there are lots of subtleties to how this is going to be enforced, but from what I'm gathering is that this now goes to the Executive Committee, which makes the final decision. Like, that's when it's enforced. If the Executive Committee puts a green signal on this decision by the Player Status Committee, which is probably 90% gonna happen, right? But before that, East Bengal have the chance to appeal against this, so they will be heard again. It's not like it's just a one-sided decision that's been taken, and even in the proceedings, East Bengal made their case. But yeah, as of now, it looks like they will not be able to sign any players, and this is the first time in Indian football history that this has happened. I mean, we've seen this happening in Spain. We've seen this happening in La Liga, and even Italy. I think once this happened, but it's. I mean, I was surprised a little bit. Not sure if pleasantly or unpleasantly, but it's significant that these kind of rules are being enforced, because let me just be completely honest. For years, East Bengal and Mohan Bagan and other big clubs that have some power in the Indian football system, they've been flouting these norms straight up, and they just didn't have any regards for the smaller clubs who had less money and less influence with the federation, or especially the state associations. They would just talk to the players. They would try to poach them. There are even instances, I won't name names, but like one player comes up from a small team and does well in 2 or 3 National League games. Immediately he gets a call, and the whole season is still left. And somebody starts talking to him about, hey, you want to play for this big club in the next season, and which is completely, I mean, it's borderline corruption, right? So it's never been enforced. It's actually never been made this big a deal by a club that has been slighted so far, because a lot of the smaller clubs don't pursue this matter as Minerva Punjab did, because those clubs like the financial deals they get from selling players to the big clubs, right? It's part of their revenue model, if they have a revenue at all. So Minerva Punjab have actually fought this through to the end. Yeah. And they have upheld the rules properly, because.
So as of now, what does it state? So Sukhdev Singh is currently tied up with Mohan Bagan, I believe, and
so
does it mean
he's not playing till for the next 4 months, basically?
Okay.
Right,
okay.
And Mohan Bagan have signed a replacement already. So it's
So
not,
Sukhdev Singh and East Bengal are the ones who are in the soup right now, and Mohun Bagan is the winner. And football.
Not the winner. They lost a player, but and it's not their fault. It's just something that happened before he came to Mohun Bagan. Here's the deal. East Bengal are not denying it happened. They're not denying that Alvito Dikuna went and spoke to this guy, Sukhdev Singh, before the 6-month limit. You're not supposed to speak to him directly if a player has more than 6 months left on his contract, and that's what they did, and they're not denying it. What is happening is that, oh my goodness, they're saying we didn't know the rules.
Very nice.
They're saying we didn't know the rules. That's
very
their difference.
Nice.
I mean, how are you supposed to get by with that? Like, I mean, how many times?
They just came into football last week, so probably it's a great excuse to give away. Yeah, and they're talking to Minerva Punjab, who just came into the top flight division of football just a couple of years back. This East Bengal versus 150 years. What are we talking about? History is just it brings a shame. It brings a shame.
If you jump a red light and you tell the traffic cop that I didn't know the rules, that I'm supposed to stop at a red light.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to listen to you?
I think it's just a fancy lad that I see. I didn't know it's meant for traffic.
Yeah,
stupid.
Stupid, man.
Stupid. Yeah. All right. We have to end the show right now. We've got so many things to talk about, but I think we'll keep it for another day. Right now, it's about Indian football. And we're gearing up to the ISL. We're gearing up a little more further from the I-League. But we will get you... we will be talking about teams. We are talking about signings in the coming shows. But for this week...
And suspensions, man. There's Suraj Mandal who got caught trying to recruit players for match-fixing ring. He's been suspended, and there's a huge investigation underway that IFA has turned over to Sports Radar.
Yeah.
That is something I want to talk about in detail in the next episode.
Yes, we will get back in the next episode. So this week, this was it from us. Come back to us next week. If you're listening to us on YouTube, do not forget to like, share, subscribe. Download the IVM Podcast app, which is available on Android and iOS for many such shows like TFG Podcast. And you can also listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, etc. Give us a like, give us a share on the social media platforms as well. You can follow TFG Football on Twitter. Do let us know via comments what you felt about both the topics that we talked about today. Come back to us next week. Have a great time.
Every week comes a show where three people come together to tell you about stuff they like. A movie, a TV show, a book, and other stuff. Tune in every Monday on the IVM Podcast app to IVM Likes. Batman approves this message. Thank you, Batman.
Long, long ago, not in Bethlehem, but in a place nearby, there was a wonderful birth of a huge show, which I like to call Cyrus Says. A show that encapsulates everything in human history, from the first Homo sapien to the last Homo sapien, who's traversed the entire world and then come back to India. This is a show which tells you everything about everything. If you want to know, avoid Google, come to us. It's called Cyrus Says. Get new episodes every Monday and Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts from. It's simple as A, B, oh God, what comes after that?